Welcome back to episode number 2 of the Chirp Hockey Podcast. Number 2.
I thought episode 1 went very well. I heard from a lot of stragglers that I haven't seen and haven't talked to in years. Facebooking me, and I've talked to Jordan Willis. You know who Jordan Willis was?
Nah, it doesn't sound
He's
familiar.
a little rat. He's a little goalie.
He's a goalie now.
Yeah, but
there was a guy in the UHL named Willis or something who was he was a forward.
Oh, that was Tyler Willis. I found him a few times. Yeah, little rat too. Good kid though. Good guy.
But yeah, episode 2. Real quick, I'm kind of excited. Next week we're gonna have a couple special guests.
Yes.
Sitting on either side of us here. Eric Anderson and Ronnie Vogel will be joining us. That's the plan anyway, unless something crazy happens. But they're supposed to be here, and I think you played with Ronnie. Did you play?
Yep, I played against Ronnie and I also played with him. So
Okay.
I played with him in Rockford for the Ice Hogs, and he's up in Fort Worth now. But we'll save some stories for next week.
What about Eric?
Yeah, Eric's a great guy.
Or did you play? You didn't play with Eric. You only played.
I didn't play with him, but I did play against him for many years, and we definitely kept him on the ice. Coach made me keep him on the ice all the time.
Wanted him on the ice.
Yeah.
I felt like he was a pretty skilled player.
Yeah, he
Am I
was.
wrong?
Eric was one of those guys that just always showed up and played. Always a good guy to have on your team. I hated playing against him. He was always giving it to you in front of the net. He was a big defenseman. Yeah, big defenseman, wore number 6. I still remember. And he was one of those guys that's a really, really small, lean guy, but he looked bigger because he wore those big shoulder pads all the time. He's one of those guys that would look like a monster on the ice, but then he takes off some little drowned rat.
He's a pretty big guy. He's tall.
Yeah. He's
tall.
He's tall. Just a great guy, and he's given a lot back to youth hockey at this time in Amarillo. So
I've gotten to know Eric and Ronnie over the last couple of years. And they're both pretty awesome dudes that do a lot for youth hockey, and they have kids that play, which obviously helps. But you can tell they're just guys that want to give back and they love the game, and so it's going to be awesome to have them too here. And so that should be fun next weekend. We'll film that. So kind of transitioning here, today's sponsor. We have a sponsor today.
I heard
sponsor
that.
today. West Texas Turf and Landscaping is our sponsor today. They are amazing. They do a great job. Proudly based out of West Texas, they serve the entire Permian Basin region, providing quality and professionalism in service such as synthetic turf, hydro mulch, hydro seeding, sod, cells installation, xeriscape, landscape design, cement, and much more. They are phenomenal at what they do. And if you want any of that, you're going to call Eric. His number is 432-209-1802. You call Eric, he'll get you set up. And that is our sponsor for today's video. So
hydro mulch, is that when you put that special stuff on something that grows?
I don't want to know what kind of hydro.
You might be able to put something on your face.
I don't want to know what kind of hydro mulch you use.
I know you set these cameras up a certain way so it doesn't show your left side because it's a little bare. But I mean, if you put a little hydro mulch on there, maybe we can call Eric and maybe he'll sponsor the show again.
You got some stragglers hanging out.
Where?
Or you got some popping out of the side of the headphones.
Easy.
There.
Listen, I go for a nose wax at least every 3 weeks, Johnny. Have you ever tried that before? Obviously not.
I have
okay?
a story.
Obviously not.
Okay, so let's actually we have a story about this.
Actually, let's back up a little bit. That little picture you put on the internet and all this iTunes and stuff of me skiing. I must have been wearing your pants. Did you see how tight those things were?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I was talking about.
That was a legit picture you sent me.
A few pitch from Donnie from Sipapoo, and I'm like, well, I look over there. I got a hat going this way. I got tight red pants on, which
I did not no one photoshopped that photo.
Well,
that's exactly how it was sent.
Somebody
to me.
did. I'm just gonna say, tune in for the next one because it's coming. Let me tell you.
Today we had a heck of a storm just now. In that?
West Texas storm for sure. Tornado watch, and I was coming over here. I was trying to get gas, and that's why I put a hat on. My hair was all over the place.
Your hair is always all over the place. That's not why you put a hat on. Do you try to cut your own hair these days?
Okay, listen. If you want to go in the hair, I just said to your wife when I walked in the door, did he just wake up? All right, you got the summer beard going, some hair here, some hair there. We're supposed to do a professional show here, and you're showing up with
I was just hoping
a gray T-shirt on and camo shorts. Give these guys some camo shorts.
I was just hoping you wore a hat today. Because it looks like you've been weed whacking that thing a couple times. But no, so we're excited about next week. But yeah, was talking about the storm. This is, again, like I said, it's pre-recorded, but we're filming this on Saturday, and a little bit of hell came down. This West Texas weather, man, you just never know what's going to happen. It's insane.
Yeah. And speaking of West Texas, that's about our topic today. We want to talk about Texas youth hockey, how it's grown, and how big of a part that everybody's been taking a place, and how COVID affected it. But just before we get into that, can you tell me the story? I heard there was a story here on the NBC Sports. Eddie Olczyk. Eddie Olczyk gave you a comment, gave you a plug, actually. Didn't really mention your name, but
let's be honest.
Go back?
He absolutely has no idea who I am, right? And so I can't really fault him. It was funny. It was funny for us because the guys who know. Well, let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah,
so Semyon Varlamov. Okay, this might have been 4 years ago. Could have been 5 years ago. I'm not too sure, but he played for the Avalanche. I get a call. Actually, I got a text message, and it said, "Hey, we have an NHL player who wants to get some ice at your rink. We don't have ice here. We would like to get on the ice." And I'm like, is this for real? So I call him, and we get it all set up, and they tell me it's Semyon Varlamov.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, we'll see if this is for real. We'll see. So we set it up. I meet the guy at the rink, and sure enough, he pulls up in his car, pulls up in a sick BMW, right? So that was the first clue that this was probably legit. And sure enough, he gets out, and it's Semyon Varlamov. He's got all his Colorado Avalanche gear. And I'm like, holy smokes, he really is here. He really does live in Lubbock. So I guess he lives in Lubbock for the summers. I guess his wife, fiance or wife, she lives there. That's where she's from. So they have a house there in the summer. And so I worked with him. We did some, he asked me to get on the ice with him and just do some timing drills. So he was actually rehabbing at the time. And so he was doing a lot of stuff where, crease work, right? Yeah. And I would just literally stand there and just press a timer, let him do his reps, and he would say, once it gets to, a minute, or once it gets to 2 minutes, stop it, tell me I'm done. So that's what we did, and we just did that for an hour and a half.
The only other goalie we've had here in Odessa, I'd say, would be Mike Gorman that lives here. Mike Gorman and
the Flash.
The Flash, and he ain't too flashy these days. Let me tell you, he's putting on a couple of LBS. But let's go on with the story. Go on with the story.
So he shows up. We do this thing, and I think he maybe came once or twice while he was playing with the Avalanche. And not too long ago, last year, I get a call from him. And he says, "Hey, I'm back." And he says he's back in town and he would like to get some ice. And I was like, "Yeah, who are you playing for now?" And he said, "I'm with the Islanders now." And so I was like, "Yeah, awesome. Let's set it up." So we set it up. And this time he's like, "Hey, do you mind, doing some shooting on me?"
Oh.
And I'm like,
got the old wooden stick ready to go. I'm
like, "Oh, okay." So I was like, it was a little nerve-wracking at the beginning, for sure. You're shooting on this massive NHL goalie. And what's cool, well, I guess what made it harder was he tells you where to shoot. Like a lot of these drills, he just wants to feel the puck.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, hey, come in and shoot wherever you want, try to score on me. He's saying, put it low glove, put it high blocker, put it in my chest. And so I'm having to be
in your chest. That you were good at that one. You probably went 10 for 10 on that one.
That was an easy one. It was an easy one.
That was definitely the easy one for you.
I remember doing this a few times. This will be no problem. So, but he would tell me where to shoot, and it actually made it a lot harder, right? Because you're trying to be pretty precise. You're not trying to hit him in the head and off his collarbone. You're trying to put it where he wants it. And Varlamov he's a cool dude, man. He's a really cool guy. And this last time he came, he brought a trainer down. Cool dude too. His name's Ben. He does off ice training with him, some agility and strength training for him. Great guy. Both great guys. Well, anyway, so.
Let's go back to the story.
Yeah, we're on the long story here of this, but that's how all that happened. I met him and somewhat became friends out of it. They're great guys, and so I get a tag in some video, and it's Eddie Olczyk, or however you say his last name.
Yeah, he played for the Leafs back in the day.
Well, I know who he is, but I don't know how to say his name. And he's talking about Varlamov getting on the ice and driving from Lubbock to Odessa, and mentions the jackalopes in it. And then they said, well, I guess they hired a pro shop worker or concession stand worker, Zamboni driver, to come and shoot on them. And and I'm going like, are you kidding me? I'm like, man, give me a little bit more credit than that. It was funny. And like I said, they take what they want from the stories that they hear, and they go with it. But it was pretty funny. And I got a bunch of guys texting me just thinking it was funny because they knew it was me, right?
Yeah.
They knew he was talking about me. And they were like, oh, yeah, Zamboni driver, They're like, where's the concession stand coming from? I'm like, I have no idea.
But I will say, I mean, after the first year, like you did talk to him a couple times, and then all of a sudden he lost your contact. But now at least you're top 20 in his contacts. So that's a big bonus for you.
Oh, it was cool. It was just cool that, I get to go out on the ice with such a – and talk about, like, professional. The way he pushes himself, it's amazing. And that's why that guy is at that level.
Correct.
And he's having an amazing season. The Islanders are doing phenomenal, and but yeah, him and Ben, they put in the work. They're doing unbelievable. That story is obviously just a funny little story that we got, but it's the truth is those guys are awesome. They work super hard. He's doing great. He's having a great season. The Islanders are doing great, so I hope good success for them the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So
and that's a good experience for you too. I mean,
absolutely,
to have an NHL player here like in Odessa, Texas. I mean, that's great. Like if an NHL player was like practicing in Dallas, you'd probably have 300-400 people there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's here at the mall. How many people showed up? I mean, I know you told a couple people when you were working with them, but like nobody knows.
Yeah, we had one of the and he was great with the kids too. Like we brought out Mike Gorman's son. Actually, we brought him out and he got to do a little work with him. But that's what I was telling. It was like, we're in Odessa, Texas. Like you see an NHL player, no one knows who you are, and they like that though. Yeah. They like that they're kind of like under the radar when they go to these big markets. Everyone knows who they are, and so. But yeah,
and also Gorman can't really bend down anymore. I mean, but back in the day, Gorman was a hell of a goalie.
That's what I heard.
Yes, he was. He was amazing. I was his roommate and on the road, and he was a difficult roommate, but I wanted to score on him every time in practice.
Was he OCD?
No, Gorman. Back in the day, he would just get mad at everything, right? So I would always try to go top shelf. And when I scored, I celebrated all the time. And he was one of those guys that was chasing around the ice. So, and he was a lot.
You guys had similar.
He was a lot quicker.
You guys were roommates. Did you guys dye your hair at the same place? Did you guys dye each other's hair? Did you dye each other's hair?
Oh, Johnny.
Oh, Margot sits in the chair.
Can you stand up and show him your camo shorts? You got your wife's shorts on today, and I don't know if those are medium.
Margot sits in the chair first, and you're like, well, once you do me, I'll do you next. Okay, come on, get me going here.
Here we go. Little puppet over here to my right. I want to thank you for coming out.
I mean, I don't think Frosted Tips was ever in, but you guys definitely thought it was in.
Johnny, the first time I played here in Odessa, I saw these two redheads. It looked like Annie. You guys know the movie Annie? I said, "Who's Annie?" Oh, there's Annie in the corner, section CC. I mean, that's where I first saw you. I laid my eyes on you like that. Your mom had the Polaroid camera. I still remember. And can we have your stick? And I just remember, and then all of a sudden,
I never asked for a stick.
I know.
Of yours.
It was a sign
ever.
You made. It was a sign in crayons.
I never.
And then about 3 years later, you were our stick boys. You were our stick boy.
Ever made a sign asking for a stick in my entire life.
You had the tight outfit on. I could tell you were a figure skater back in the day, and that's just what. And then your brother was just like a little baby at the time, and big red afro. I mean, that's just what it was.
Oh my god! I do remember you getting punched out one time though, and you got a fishbowl about this big on your eye, and I still remember
that did not happen.
Guy
not in
popped
Odessa.
You a good one.
Not in Odessa. I took it. But I promise you, I gave it. But anyways, hey, let's get talking about Texas youth hockey. I mean, that's pretty much my life the last 13 years, 14 years. And yourself here, you've been involved lately. I mean, easily the last 5 to 7 years. Texas hockey with this COVID going on, I have to give it so much kudos this year. We were able to play in the league, DSTHL president Paul Friedman just went above and beyond, and all his staff and all the volunteers. We succeeded like 96% of our games this year, and then
through COVID.
And has put
what would you say? I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
What would you say to the people who would disagree with our way of doing things this year through all this, with everyone shutting down, and we're not going to get into the politics side of it and what we actually think, but what do you I guess not even saying like, what do you think about what they think? What do you think? Like, was it the right decision? Did we do the right things? Did we take the right steps? And how did we do it? How did we become so successful when everyone else was shut down? Canada is just now starting.
Yes, I talked to my sister.
Barely.
Yes.
And even still, they're very limited. I talked to one of my old coaches a couple days ago, Travis Clayton. I think he's in the western side of Canada. I think he might be in the Alberta area. I'm not too sure. But they're very limited. They just started, but he made it sound like they have like 8 players, 8 guys, 9 guys on the ice at a time, and that's it. So what did we do, and how were we successful, and did we do the right things? Could we have done anything different?
No, I mean, we definitely did the right things. I mean, if you look at our year, I mean, you don't know until you try it, right? And then all of a sudden, we had to report any kind of COVID symptom or any person that had COVID. I mean, as Paul would say from DSTHL and Lucas Reed and all the guys up there that put their time into get other people on board. We had obviously we had to social distance and everything. They did the statistics in youth sports. It's more of a community exposure. An exposure is considered anytime 15 minutes in an isolated area, kind of like you and I are right now, in an isolated area. But at the same time, I mean, you don't wait to get COVID. You don't say, hey, I was around that guy. I'm going to stay home for 48 hours and wait to get COVID. I'm not saying that people don't have their opinions, and I totally respect their opinions, but all of a sudden, I mean, we had the flu for all these years. We have all these flu shots, and I mean, people have the choice to have a flu shot. People have a choice to get a COVID shot. I mean, all these diseases around. I mean, there's thousands of them. I mean, your immune system's built to be up, and I'm not putting anything against people that were affected by it, underlying issues. I totally understand. Those are the people that we need to be concerned about.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. But they have a choice to go out and do stuff. Like I was talking to my sister, and she feels like she just wasted a whole year of her life, her kid's life, other people's life. There's always 2 sides to a story, and we could go the other way, and we could sit here on this show and say, hey, but what about this and but what about that? Yeah, but there's all about buts in this world. I mean,
a lot of what ifs.
Yeah, and I'm not a what if guy. So if you want to ask my personal opinion, they did a great job. They kept in contact with us throughout the whole season. If anybody got it, we reported it. We reported the exposures. They were able to let parents in the buildings social distance.
Well, like the playoffs was pretty strict.
Oh, they did a wonderful job.
It was a great job, but it was a lot. It was more strict than I thought it was going to be.
It was, and I think, and like for those reasons, I totally understand. What if there was a breakout? What if there was an outbreak? At that time, they have everything covered. They know who was in the building at that time. They made you sign. It was a little bit of back paperwork they had to do all week, but it was definitely worth it. We never heard anything about it, but if someone did get it, we could tell you who was in that building. And they did it. They did it to a T, and I have to give my hats off to those Dallas Stars up there, and they've definitely have done wonders for the youth programs and all those organizations. I mean, Fort Worth, I mean, the Brahmas, the Tigers, the girls hockey right now that's booming right now. I mean, people are giving them an opportunity, like with Mike Selican up there. He's pretty much like devoted his whole life to get a good coaching staff, and now more girls are playing hockey, and up in McKinney with Lucas Reed, and then the Penguins and the Texas Warriors. I mean, we have all these relationships with all these organizations because that's been our life for the last 15 years, and so, but we're just glad to be a part of a great group that we all work together. And I was just going to go over a few things, what you think we could do better to improve the youth hockey here in Texas.
Youth hockey in Texas, like I see one of the things I actually wanted to bring up to you, and I think this could kind of flow into the question that you're asking is, our market here in Odessa. Yeah. Obviously, we talked about it last episode, but we combined with Amarillo, like we don't have a massive pool of kids, right? No. So, and especially, a market, like the Metroplex, like the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Houston, I saw their team, a couple of their teams this year, but I don't really know how they do things. San Antonio, kind of understand how they do things, but I mainly revert to the Dallas, Fort Worth area. And they have this, in my opinion, they have this massive pool of kids, whether they're superstars or not, right? You have kids that you can choose and pick from to make your teams. And I feel like that makes ultimately, I feel like that makes a more competitive market. If a kid doesn't make it one year and he has to play house league or some kind of rec hockey because he didn't make his single A or double A or triple A program,
Yeah.
that puts that lights a fire for that kid. Now that kid's hungry and he's going to step up. He's going to make the A team or he's going to make the double A team. Whatever level it was.
It should do that. It should do that.
Well,
if the parents aren't involved, and I mean, if your parents help them out, hey, listen, you're just not good enough yet. Continue to work hard, and you'll get there.
Right.
They should do that. Yes.
But I mean, and we know that there are a lot of kids that kind of turns them around. They want to go the other way. They'll pick up another sport. They want to do something else. Okay, this isn't for me. I got cut. I'm done. But a lot of it, because there is a big pool, it kind of lights a fire, and I feel like that builds a good program, right? That makes the kids hungry, and you see a lot more talent kind of blossom out of that because they're going to private lessons, they're skating all the time, they want to get better. For us, and nothing against our organization, nothing against the way we've done things, is because it's how we've had to do things, is a lot of times kids, like, they just get to play because it's the numbers we have, right?
Well, I mean, back up a few years, you got to play with us, right? You went from figure skates to ice hockey skates, and you could skate. I mean, you were a great skater, but you weren't around the game.
Right.
But I mean, how many players do we have to choose from?
Definitely.
We had slim pickings, and in order for us to have a full team, we would be like, okay, I'll take Johnny.
Okay, but I was pretty good.
I know you were, but I'm just saying. But it is true. We were up to that area up until about 2-3 years ago, right? Now we're kind of selective, and it's so tough because some people take it personal and some people, but I think the reason why youth hockey has been successful in these rural areas is because they have good directors that actually guide these kids and find games for every level.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. They don't realize the time that we put into this, especially for COVID. Just let me back up a bit. I saw you guys walk in the stands, making sure people had their mask on all the time. It was a total effort for everybody, and it was draining.
Right.
I mean, it was draining. But same thing with all these kids. Like, we really don't have a house league here in Odessa, right? We got 20 kids on the ice. Okay, you guys get the Blues jerseys. You guys get the white jerseys. You're gonna have a game every third Tuesday.
Right.
So
and the majority of them do play travel hockey.
And they do. But I mean, they don't realize that. Like the Dan Lavernes, yourself, myself. I mean, everybody. We're calling Fort Worth. We're talking to Canute all the time. We're talking to Amarillo. We're talking to Tom and Corey in El Paso. We're talking to Selican, and we're talking to Angie and Adam and in Austin. And we're setting up all these games, all these friendly games we call them, and we have to travel 4.5 hours to do it.
Yeah.
Just to play 3-4 games. So, I mean, and it's a great sport. I mean, just like you said, I mean, adversity. I mean, there's a lot of kids that pick up a bat and all of a sudden they can't swing a bat, so they go on the next sport.
Right.
I mean, that's their parenting, and I have no issues with whatever they decide to do. But hockey teaches you so much at going through adversity, how to win, how to lose, how to rebound back, how to be disappointed.
Right.
I mean, how to take an ass chewing once in a while. I mean,
well, that's one of the biggest things.
It makes you stronger.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I think develops a player is having those ups and downs. And and like I said, nothing against our program, but for the longest time we've been able to just, okay, you're playing, and there's never been a, you know what, you don't quite cut it this year, you're just going to play house league. You're not going to play very much this year. Like, and our program's gotten bigger, and I'm very impressed with our program. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of it. I think you've done a great job in building it up through the years. And like I said last weekend, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we won a championship with Amarillo, Odessa and Amarillo, the score team. Like, your team did really well, made the playoffs. Like, we have some good players. But as far as Texas hockey or youth hockey in Texas, I've heard some people up north and stuff say that they don't think Texas is that great. The programs that are in Texas, like, Texas players really aren't that good. What do you have to say about that?
Man, I mean, I think the last 2-3 years, I know that Brad Buckland, I don't know if you know who Brad Buckland is, and well, he runs all the Dallas Stars tournaments, and this has been a great year for him. Like, I mean, they've been able to host tournaments through COVID, and everybody's coming here, right? Florida, California, all these teams up north. They had nowhere to play. Chicago came down. I mean, so they've definitely.
Right, we were a little bit of their saving grace this year.
Yes, we were their saving grace, and even like the tournaments, even like Can-Am came to Austin, and now they're doing another tournament in Austin, which we'll be at in a couple of weeks again. But at the same time, I mean, it's definitely COVID has helped us put Texas hockey back on the map, and everybody loves coming here, girls hockey. But the one thing I would change, and I don't know if you want to agree with me, and I kind of want to bring this up, is, I would love to have 2 or 3 guys go to each organization in Texas or throughout the world and educate the parents on the steps. Like you don't say, like you see, like you have a trainer, you have a manager, you have a team mom, you have a Taha president, vice president, you have a hockey director, all this stuff, right? But why don't we have like a liaison that educates parents only? So you're in San Antonio one weekend, you hold some press conferences, or you hold some conferences and some meetings, and you educate the parents like what to expect from moving Mike to Squirts, or Squirts to Pee Wee, or Pee Wee to Bantam, because Bantam age hockey, that's when you really know if you're going to hang around.
It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah, it's a pivotal. I mean, most USA Hockey, Canada, everything, the most changes happen on a team at 14 years, right? People are stronger, bigger, hit puberty.
And then you get into contact.
Like if yourself or like myself, I can tell you right now what to expect if you're a Mike player going to a Squirt, or a Squirt player going to Pee Wee, or how many times a parent has texted me after a game, well, why didn't my son play that much? Well, did you realize that we had 9 penalties? I didn't know that the referee was going to call 9 penalties, or we're going to be in the box. I'm sorry, your son's just not a special team guy. I mean, we have to educate these so they understand, because, if the game's 5-4, you're right. There are certain kids that don't play as much. We still try to get them out there as much as we can. I mean, we're not benching a kid, a 10-year-old. I mean, we're talking about just youth hockey in general. But then when you're up 9-1, guess who plays more in the power play? You have to have a good, reliable coach. And I think that a lot of these organizations here across Texas have done a wonderful job hiring the proper people to coach those teams.
Right.
I've just seen us grow so much. I mean, I've enjoyed my conversations with all the guys up in Dallas and Austin and San Antonio, and I've made a lot of friends here in the last 10 years, but I can really see a difference this year. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I really thought that they definitely.
Maybe
deserve
you should be the liaison. Maybe you should start it.
I can't wear any more hats.
Yeah, people would be. Yeah. They're so tired of hearing you talk. They'd be like, no, not this guy again. Special guest today, Donnie Margetti. He's going to teach you about how to parent your kid in hockey, and they're going to be like, we'll see you later.
I would actually be one of the prime guys for that, but I'd like to have a crew, right?
No, it would be good. I mean,
and here's my son here. He's grown 3 hairs in the last 9 years, summer beard. You know what I mean? Like, come on, right? So,
I the last couple of years I haven't head coached or anything like that, but it's been nice to be an assistant coach and just kind of give my words of wisdom here and there. And if you want to call it that.
I was doing my level 4
words of wisdom.
Years ago, level 4 in Las Vegas, and I forget who it was. It was one of the NHL guys. He was speaking on things, and his speech at that time was about parenting, and he opened up the speech and said, the best kids to teach are orphans. They got no parents. So I was like, that was a beauty. I've used that a few times. I forget who it was, someone from Los Angeles, but that was a good introduction.
Orphans. Oh man. But yeah, youth hockey in Texas has been, we're very fortunate to have it. And I know Dallas carries a lot of those programs. And then, you have your other spots that have a couple teams here and there, but it's good for the kids to have the Dallas Stars Hockey League that we play in. Like, if we didn't have that, it'd be.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, years ago they tried to get out of it, and they had a few organizations get, lured in, and they tried to start their own thing. I mean, the bottom line, these guys put their heart and soul into all this organization. They all have full-time jobs. Paul's a doctor. I mean, some people, they don't realize the number of hours on the phone and organizing all these events and the scheduling that goes into it. I mean, they're just, these guys are warriors up there, and I just want to give a big shout out to all those guys that make hockey successful here in West Texas, all of Texas, and I think we got the right people that are doing the directing of every organization. I think it's only going to grow, and I'm looking forward to the next several years.
No, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Chirp Hockey Podcast, episode number 2 in the books, and we will be back next week for another episode. So tune in.
Next week, make sure you tune in, because Anderson and Vogler are flying in on Southwest, and I promise you it's going to be a show, let me tell you.
Are they flying in?
They're flying in, yep. Well, I know Andy sometimes takes the big Tahoe and brings the whole family, but I'm not sure if the rates are really cheap at the Elegante, so he definitely, I think he's flying in on himself. I think he's flying in by himself.
Well, it's going to be a good one, so we'll have that one up. But this one should be out around Wednesday. Again, you can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube for the video version. And make sure you like and subscribe and download. All that helps us out and keeps us going. So we really appreciate it.
And we've also, don't forget, if you want to sponsor a show, I mean, we've had a lot of requests. Just put a little comment in the comment remark, and we'll be in touch.
For sure. Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.